All right, YouTube. So it's been about a week since that last video. I talked about how I got in the top 10 unexpectedly, and now that I am on Fresh Leads, the goal is hitting 100K. And unfortunately, things didn't really go as planned. Now, I did get one deal at the very end of the week, Friday specifically, where I got 10K. So the great part is that we're 10K out of 100K for the month of May. However, a lot has really changed, and it wasn't really that good halfway through the week. So let me explain. The first half of the week, it was really great because I'm like, okay, I'm on Fresh Leads. Let's keep this train going. Let's show that I'm not just some like one-off dude, some fluke, and let's bring what I learned onto these new leads. And it went really well. I had, I think, 5+ sets that all showed up that were from those days. And I think only one of those closed at the end of the week. That was that one that closed on Friday. That was a follow-up. But on Wednesday, I remember I had like 4 or 5 book calls, and about 2 or 3 or I think 4 basically no-showed or canceled on me. And even though I had like that 1 or 2 that did show up, they didn't close. And so all of that combined was just like, oh my God, like, am I this terrible at what I do? And it really affected me because I remember that day I was like 3 or 4 or 5 hours deep, just not doing anything. I was like in my own head. And I had sets that day, but because of that sort of energy, even those sets didn't even show up, which was terrible. And I realized that I was so emotionally attached to the work that I was doing. And that's because recently I actually started therapy. I forgot what kind of therapy, but we're talking about my problems. And then the reason why I wanted to do that, is because I really want to be someone who consistently gets ahead of the problems that I might have or already do have and I'm not aware of. And funny enough, he helped me realize one of those problems that I was already having, which was I was so lean towards the side of my life where it's like money, sales, business. Because he described to me like life is like a table, right? Each table has 4 pillars. One of those pillars was, for me, was that sales, business, making a lot of money. And so the way we basically broke it down was like that pillar was so high compared to the other 3 pillars where it's like my relationships, my own physical, mental, emotional health. And so the table, we broke it down that it basically looked like it was leaning towards one side, leaning up towards one side, which is that making money side. And because of that, when one pillar controls like that whole identity that I have, every setback, everything that negatively went wrong, it affected me. And that was the biggest thing that I realized because, like, yes, sales, making money online, traveling, moving from the US to Vietnam, like, yes, even though it did change my life, for so long, I only thought like that was the only thing that made me. And that was also the thing too, that like, I remembered that I spoke about this in one of the videos before, but like, it's not a forever thing, right? I mean, I'm always going to be doing sales. Sales is like basically a way of life where you're communicating to someone, you're persuading someone about something, etc. But high ticket sales specifically, the space that I'm in, it's not forever. The real goal is actually to have ownership over my life, have freedom over my life, which is like, owning a business. Now, I don't have anything set in stone yet, but like some of those examples maybe be like Airbnb or maybe doing e-com. It's just from what I've seen as an examples, right? Nothing set in stone yet. We'll talk about that more when we get there. But, when I remembered that, everything just felt like a weight lifted off my chest because it's like, wait, it's just one person out of many conversations, and it's just a lesson in a sense, right? So I just had to remember it's a phase, not a part of my entire life. Now the final thing that I also realized because of that is one of those pillars actually makes up personal branding, right? Now, here I am talking and in this room that I work from, but I realize that I'm so limited to what I can do because I'm just speaking from my room to my MacBook here, and I'm not really showing all of the life that I live. And so I committed to getting the new DJI 4 by the end of this month. And what that's going to allow me to do is like show my life outside of sales, what I'm doing, how I'm building up those other four pillars of my life rather than just business. Because I think a lot of people, again, can maybe take lessons from that, maybe get inspiration from, doing that themselves. And I just want to be able to show like this, even though this life can be hard, especially since like the last how many ever videos have just been me being in this room talking to this MacBook, it can genuinely be beautiful. It can genuinely be enjoyable. And when I get it, you'll see a lot more coming soon. But overall, I just feel really great. Feel like everything else has been rising since that session with my therapist and also that day, and it feels really great because I'm just overall really grounded. I feel a lot more detached than I was than the previous month, and I think this is like the biggest thing that I'm going to be taking on for the rest of the month, focusing on other parts of my life, getting other wins, because at least I have something to celebrate if for whatever reason work or business or sales didn't go great that day. I was consistent in other parts of my life, so yeah, that's pretty much all. I'm really excited to show what I have stored or what I have in mind stored, and it's going to be really exciting. A lot of inspiration, taking a lot of inspiration from a lot of other people and building out a really strong structure for what I'm going to show. And yeah, only time will tell. Only time will show it.